Welcome to a video from ThisIsLifestyle.com. I've got a new collection for the Korg Modwave. This is set of sounds inspired by the 1978 ARP Quadra, which was a pretty unique instrument. It was actually made up of 4 sections. It had a bass section, a string synthesizer, string ensemble section, a poly section, and a lead section, which is actually duophonic. You could play all 4 sections at once and combine them, and that's why I thought it would be great to reproduce some of those sounds using the Modwave, because the Modwave's got dual oscillators and 2 layers, so you've got 4 sections to play with there. So this is a collection of performances and programs, more programs in this collection than in previous ones because I've done quite a bit of layering. So these are sounds that are all inspired by the Quadra. So you might recognise some of the sounds. Tony Banks of Genesis, big user of that sound, so I've got some of those type sounds in there as well. It's also used by Duran Duran, New Order, John Carpenter, loads of others, and it's a pretty unique instrument. Also with this as well, as I've just got a Korg Keystage which supports polyphonic aftertouch, there's a few of the sounds that have got polyphonic aftertouch. I will probably do a separate collection of polyphonic aftertouch based sounds, but you'll pick those up in here. So looking at the collection, we've got, if I go to all data, you see we've got 47 performances and programs which you can use. The programs are the single layers, the dual layers. I'll go through some of the performances now for this video and let you have a listen to them. They're a free download from ThisIsLifestyle.com. Okay, first one may sound familiar. So this is Korg ABACAB, and it's what Tony Banks used the Quadra on ABACAB, especially that bit. That's fifths sort of separated. It's got poly aftertouch on it as well if you want to give that a try. Next one is another Tony Banks one, and this is from Duke, a track called Alone Tonight, and there's an organ in the background with Mike Rutherford playing a nice 12 string. So it's a nice subtle organ, but I quite liked it, so I recreated that. Live, you can see him using a Quadra. So that's using 2 layers again so that's using 2 layers again. Layer 1, if I go to the effects, Layer 1's using a chorus and Layer 2 is using a phaser, because on the Quadra there is a phaser section as well. So when I looked at how he was using that, I could see that he was kind of using the phaser and chorus. So in serial here on the Modwave I couldn't do that, but I've got them in parallel, so 2 layers doing that one. This one is a flute. Again using multiple layers, so you can hear the square wave in the background, the noise, and a bit of sawtooth as well. So I've got 2 layers on this one. In fact, no, this is a single layer one. So I've got this just a single layer one, making use of the sub oscillator as another one of those layers, and then I've got the square wave on there, and yeah, it's a nice soft sound. Now I've built some basses. The bass section is pretty rudimentary on the Quadra. It's got a 16 foot and an 8 foot, so to give you can have almost like dual layers within the bass section. So I've made it a mono. You can use it up at the top as well, but that's a program as well, so you can use that for things like this. I've got a brass section up here. So this is a brass modelled on the poly brass from the Quadra. So you get the idea. You've got the brass with a bit of pitch, I like that. And a similar one here with an organ. So we've got And if you use the mod wheel, you're controlling the chorus there to emulate a Leslie, which is what a lot of people did back in the day. There's a nice split of a pulse wave and a bass, and here is one I've inspired by Behind the Lines, another Tony Banks one. Not exactly the album one, but I was listening to the live version, and I was trying to watch it. There's a YouTube of live CM tour, and you can see him using the Quadra. So I pretty much in my ear, that's what I was hearing. So it's a bit brighter, I think, but I quite like it. Here's the brass one I demonstrated earlier as well. So a nice synth brass sound. So that one is the bass and the arpeggiator. This is a good example of a dual layer one. So in the layer one, the arpeggiator, which is using two oscillators, a pulse width and a saw. Because on the Quadra you can have two different oscillators in the poly section. And on layer B, we've got the bass. And I've added a bit of sub in there as well. So this is a nice lead sound. This is quite an interesting one. This is called Follow Lead, and I noticed that you could have portamento applied to the one oscillator and not the other. So this one. So one layer has the portamento, one layer doesn't, because on the Modwave the oscillators both get the same portamento, but if you split into layers, So this one is called Hollow Ensemble, and it's because there's a hollow button on the Quadra, which makes it into a kind of square wave type sound on the ensemble section, so that's the effect I've gone for. This one you briefly heard before. This is a reproduction of a Lesile organ, as if you were doing it on the Quadra back in the day, using the chorus to speed to do the Leslie effect. Kind of a lush multi-layer one, using sawtooth width, pulse width, and some samples. So the samples are from Modwave, the string ensemble sound. So that's where I'm recreating the ensemble section and the so I'm recreating this ensemble section and the poly section using the 2 layers. So these dual layers is what gives this sound that really rich, almost church-like sound, especially with the reverb. So here's one meditation that's using the arpeggiator, which the Quadra's got, and the layers. So you can see I'm using the phase layer and the arpeggiator that goes. So that gives you a nice layer, just as you could on the Quadra, those effects. So there's the lead sound. This one is modelled on the sound that Tony Banks used on Deep in the Motherload, especially the live version. And I think when I listened to it, it had like a sawtooth and sort of pulse width sawtooth. So that's what I used on that. So there's a nice phaser on the Quadra. So I've used that on a couple of lead sounds, so you get like this. So you get some nice lead sounds like this. I like that kind of phase lead. And here's another one. This is a phased ensemble, so we're using the ensemble type sounds. On the Modwave, you've got some 2600 ensemble samples, so I've used those. This is a phased organ, something I use with some of the other performances. There's a program for this as well. And then we've got a phase pad. So that's a nice 70s feel. This is using the poly section. And this one, layer A, is the string section from the Quadra, and layer B is the poly section. So that's what you could do. You could have the sort of the ensemble strings and the poly string laid on top of each other to give you that very distinctive sound. This is what I've called prog lead. This is using a single layer, pulse width and saw to produce that kind of sound. And that's another one that you could layer with something else, bass or strings. Bit of a quirky one that I heard that I tried to recreate. It's called sample hole strings. And that's using sample hold to trigger the filter and some other things on one layer, and the other layer is using the string ensemble to give you the string sound. Again, as if you were doing this from a poly section and a string ensemble. Then we've got just simple sawtooth lead. Nice bit of phasing on there as well. Arpeggiator. A single layer on that one, and then finally we've got a string ensemble section. Then if you go to programs, you can see a lot of these performances are made up of programs which you can use these in your own sets as well. So like I said, look out for a few of them. I've got support Poly Aftertouch, and yeah, give them a try. Interesting synth, the Quadra. Very expensive to get one second hand now, so it's a nice fun way of recreating some of that era on the Modwave and using its dual layers and some samples and the waveforms that are built in. So thanks for watching this one. Download it from thedigitalifestyle.com. Look out for more coming soon. If you've got any suggestions of things that I could do with the Modwave, please let me know. Also going to be looking maybe at the Op6 and the Wave State as well, so give me any suggestions, please let me know, leave a comment and all that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.